All right, it is 6:29. I'm calling the meeting to order. Getting the party started, I guess. Roll call of members. We have Steve Whitman, Jack Scarborough, Barney Sears. We have Bridget Powers, Chris Buckley, Bill Bolton, Marianne Barnsley, and Bill Bolton is the select board representative, and Brian Murphy, who is the town of Plymouth staff. Is everyone, I guess we'll do the minutes one by one. Has everyone had a chance to look at those?
Well, on the March 7th,
Yeah, let's start with those.
Jack was both excused and present.
Yeah, I
So he's tricky.
I didn't catch that.
Is that the 7th?
And which was it, Jack? Were you?
He was not here.
I was not here.
He was excused.
Right.
I have something on page 2. Number 9, third line down. Sentence starts with both. It should say promote. It's permute. And then I had something, there was something on page 3 that was, Brian said it both times, so I think it's right, Brian, but it was ground state. It was a term that was used. We were talking about zoning.
It's in number 18.
It's in 18 and in 25. The first time I flagged it, but then I was like, I just didn't recall the phrase, how the phrase was used. I don't think it's an error. I think it could stay. But and then number 27 on the 4th page, I think it's civic institutional zone, the top line.
Yes.
That's all I saw.
Anyone else? Anything else? Do I have a motion to accept these minutes with those edits?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed?
I abstain.
No opposed. Let's look at April 18th. Not April 18th, what's the next one? Where am I? March 21st, March 21st. I'm looking at the agenda.
I had nothing. I wasn't at the meeting. It was interesting, but
Where was I?
Anybody? Has everyone had a chance to look all the way through?
Of course.
Of course, yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstained?
I'll abstain because I wasn't there.
Opposed? Those minutes are accepted. Let's look, April 4th, the last minutes.
Yeah, April 4th, when they've got Jack for being here, and then they have him for not being here.
Same thing as the first
I
one.
was not there.
Anything?
I move that they be accepted as written.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I have to abstain. I wasn't here on that one.
I'll abstain with you.
So let's move on to new business. We have, first up, we have two things. The first is a request by Michael Ahern, the applicant, at 395 Daniel Webster Highway in Plymouth, for a boundary line adjustment between two commonly held parcels, PID numbers 233-002 and 233-002.1. And these are in the agricultural zone.
That's all right.
Would you want to take a closer look at the larger one, or? Yeah,
I think it might be easier for me to look over here.
okay.
Instead of here.
I don't need my glasses, that's for sure. I might too, when you think of it.
Oh, this one too.
This is really kind of a housekeeping order for Mike. Presently, this is the, kind of the barn shop that he has where he sells his Christmas trees out of. And right now, the property line, the house and the barn are on the same lot. What he wants to do is take the barn and put it with this area and keep the house on its own lot. And more, I think most of this is just for insurance reasons and things like that, to keep the house separate from the business type of thing. So right now, the boundary line runs down like this, and he's adjusting it to add about 2/3 of an acre from this lot to the one below it. There is a common septic system, there is a septic from the house and barn, that they share a common septic system, which would end up being, it's right behind the barn, so it'd end up being on this lot. So we would keep an easement for the house to maintain that septic system. It'd also be driveway, cross easements for the driveway. And, and basically that's what it's now for, is to keep this kind of more commercial operation separate from the residential.
Anyone have any comments or questions about the completeness of the application?
I suggest it's complete.
Is there a list of, I think it mentions there, I don't see a list of the abutters, is that?
No, but the
He is the abutter.
butters, yeah. Well, and on the
And
other
I
side.
kind of wondered if that might end up in the case, but
The folks across the street that we, I mean, it's good that you recognize that, but I think it's also kind of given that staff is handling that.
okay,
portion
and,
of it.
yeah, I just,
Oftentimes, they do give us a copy of the abutter list, and if you prefer, Mr. Chair, I can have that done with every application.
we just usually get it. And I can't imagine that'd be a problem on this one. I just wanted to make sure for completeness. If no one else sees an issue with that. Anything
Make a
else?
motion to accept as complete.
I will second that.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Questions? Mr. French?
Seems pretty straightforward. You know, it's just a, it isn't gonna change a thing, actually.
Yeah, and I'm pretty
Fine.
familiar with the area we're talking about, so I have no concerns.
It's his property.
Right.
I mean, both lots are so large, and the shift is internal, and you have plenty of space for another septic system if you were to sell a property and need. So it seems like there's already driveway access. Like, it seems pretty cut and dry.
All the lots are still compliant on frontage and area and
Right.
everything else. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, it's kind of a housekeeping item more than anything else.
So I guess, do I
Public hearing.
Well, here, yeah.
officially open up for a public hearing? So it's 7:20, 7:40, I'm sorry, my math isn't that good. 7:40, and actually it's 6:40, so it's worse.
When were you at the last eye doctor?
I don't think that's the problem. At 6:40, is there anybody in the audience, and I think it's small enough, that cares to speak either for or against this proposal? Or has questions?
Speak in favor of this minor lot line adjustment. It's in keeping with our regulatory process, and I think it would enhance the value of the property. Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing no further comments, questions, I close the public hearing at 6:42. And throw it back to the board. Do we have any concerns, or would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve these plans.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? What do I say? It's approved?
Yep.
All right, next order of business, and I guess, do I have plats to sign?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I do that at the end, or?
Okay, you don't,
Yeah, because Kevin, you're doing both anyway. So the second order of business is a request by Awesome Rentals LLC applicant at 773 Kenny Mountain Highway in Plymouth for a site plan review of a proposal to erect 2 storage buildings and related site improvements on PID number 213-013 in the industrial commercial development zone. And Brian, have we discussed something about this before?
they came before, for site plan review, wasn't it? Change of use, a couple of years ago, yeah. When it was the log home sales building, had been vacant. Dr. Lamb took it over and refitted it for her veterinary practice. So they came before the board then, and also saw the ZBA, I think, at the same time.
Right. And there was nothing, no information from you that?
No, there were no changes proposed at that time, and this is actually, I think we did discuss the future use of the storage buildings there, and this is what developed from that.
Could I steal one of those? Yep, you can take the two of them.
Thank you.
What's that gray one?
This one here.
What's that?
This is
What's
the
that?
overlay of the old and the new,
Okay.
existing, proposed. And pavement.
Okay. No pavement.
Yeah, it's
This is to be
gravel.
paved.
Oh, it is to be paved.
It said, it wasn't,
It said it wasn't right in the, but it is, right?
there's
Staff
an
review said-
indication of pavement on the,
Yes.
just kind of jumping the gun anyway, but.
Maybe we did say that.
What is that drawing?
It indicates pavement and, okay, there we go.
Paving?
Yep. Gravel parking to be paved.
Yeah, okay. It wasn't indicated on the application.
Okay, this is, as you may remember, used to be the lumber outlet out on Penny Mountain Highway. And they've recently purchased the property. It was, used to be used as a lumber yard, and there was lumber stored in this building and then all around the building. And now, and the building was used as an office, as their office. And they had purchased the property, and they're keeping off, this present use of the office building is just that, it's office. This land has a veterinary clinic in there, and this was the existing garage area that they used to use for storing lumber. And after the lumber was gone, they did use it for storage then also. But it isn't secure enough or anything else, so they wanted to replace it with real storage units and make it a more secure site for storage uses. What we had proposed to do is obviously remove this existing garage barn area and replace it with a large building that's 30 by 140, and then another one over here, a small one that's 20 by 8. This area is all paved and gravel, so there actually isn't any increase in impervious area. The drainage is there presently will be the drainage that works now. And everything new uses can still use the same drainage ways as before, and there isn't any increase in runoff from the site, which does show on the proposed plan over here with the paving. And at present, they would use this driveway, this existing drive, to get into the office area, and then this driveway would be used to come in to the storage unit area. There would be a fence that would run along the property line, which would separate the two and give it security. There would be a gate at this entrance so that they could come in, and if it was coded, or a lock on it so they could get in for security reasons. And this one shows what the use would be afterwards. This would be paved. There'd be parking in here for this office building. Because of the size of it, it requires 6 spaces. We actually have 8. And this area would be paved with, again, with the security fence here and along the edge. This area would be paved. This building would be accessed from one side only, and this building would be accessed from both sides. We would leave the town sewer line runs through this area. This was the original old road, old Route 25 through here. There is a existing sewer line down through there, and they would leave an easement for that sewer line to be maintained and things like that. And that would actually run right down, we'd run it down the same driveway that we would be using for the storage units. They would look, I think this is the color scheme that they're talking about going with, which is actually quite similar to the 2 buildings that are beside it. The old warehouse, the old furniture building that sits next door to us, and then the new furniture building, which was the old Sears building, which is across the street. And it's kind of the same, pretty much the same color tones as what's on that. And I did give you a couple of these, which kind of shows the end section. Have a slight roof pitch to it, and that would be on this end, and that would probably be the only end that would have those units on the end, because on this one, we would be using this as snow storage area for plowing. Same thing in here. There wouldn't be a connection through here, so this area would be left for snow storage when you were plowing both ways. We have to keep that area because actually the well is right there, so we can't park there anyway, and we have to kind of protect that. But that is it's an area where we could just remove snow, and also over here. We didn't fence in back because there wasn't really any need to, and again, that's another area where they can move stuff. The lighting on it would be the same as shown on this plan, which is basically just down lighting, low lumen, just for security. There'd be one on the end, and then there'd be a couple spaced down the front, on each side. There would be a keypad to get in, quite similar to this one, which would be located at the gate area. Just, right now, everything would flow the way it's going. It would flow in to the front. This drainage path there's quite a depression along the front, and then this would go down and just go down into the area where it goes down over the bank where it presently goes. Right now, everything sheet flows off, and it would still be doing the same. It's the same with these buildings added. It's very flat out here, and this building would be almost at the same, elevation as the one that's existing there now.
Any questions or concerns about the completeness of this application?
Well, the only thing, like what you mentioned before, the abutters, so this is more or less the same thing, there's no abutters that would be concerned about this?
I haven't received any
But
feedback
they've
from
been
any
contacted.
abutters. Pardon me?
They've been contacted.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh.
so.
Yeah, everybody who's a butter gets an invitation by certified mail.
And they're all labeled on the plan.
Anyone want to make a motion to accept this application as complete?
I will make a motion to accept the application as complete.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions?
Could I add one other thing?
Yes.
I think with your last, one of the questions that we had before, like, which has been kind of taken care of with your last zoning amendment, was we used to have to come in for, special exception to have 2 uses on, because this is, office and storage. And with that, when you changed that rule, thank you, at the last meeting, now this, we don't have to go through that big special exception. So,
We did a good thing.
yeah.
So did zoning.
Does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
I think the only issue, and I think you answered a lot of it, is related to stormwater. And it sounds like it's not a big change. It's hard packed gravel now, it's gonna be paved. A lot of the water's gonna flow to the front where there's the drainage depression. I think just anything we can do to encourage protection of water quality of the brook and the wetlands. And I know a lot of the snow is being piled up just at the edge of those. So I just wanted to raise that. That's really my only concern.
Yeah, I mean, and that would be, it certainly caught my eye. I mean, I don't think, it doesn't sound like anything's changed from what's happening there now, and.
But the sheet flow might be faster. It is really flat.
It is very flat, yeah. And we calculated it the same impervious, and the gravel was very compact. I mean, they were using it for storage and trucking, and it was like, it was almost as, if not as impervious as pavement. And we calculated it that way.
Yeah, in the lighting, there, it would probably be no different than what's there for lighting now.
No, like I said, just on the buildings, there'd be a few of the down facing security lights, really. It's not, it wouldn't be lit for, all night use or anything like that.
Yes, Brian?
Kevin, did you do the calculations for impervious surface?
What's that?
Did you do the calcs for the impervious surface?
I don't, we knew that it was, we didn't, because we knew there wasn't an increase.
I think even if there's not an increase, if there's an opportunity on either side of the new proposed storage building to slow that flow down and filter some of it out through landscaping, through a small swale, something that will improve the situation, and not be, too much to ask. This has been like a consistent theme across other applications. And it's within the power of the site plan regs. I think we can be flexible about what that is, but I just,
A swale with cattails or something like that, or?
I don't, whatever works for the business owner, I think, but just right now, I don't know that there's anything in a big rainstorm to slow that down. And knowing what snow piles look like this year and what was in them.
Right.
I mean, I guess to that end, I don't think, like I said, there isn't any increase, but what we could do is the areas where we know we're going to move snow, which would be out here, we could probably put something small in here that would just, like a small swale to catch, let the water, kind of melt, go in there, and then kind of sheet flow over, like a spreader ditch, something like that. And we could put, we could put one of those in here, and we could probably put one down along here as well. I don't think we need it out front because this acts as that already.
That makes sense to me. It would be a really nice thing.
And that wouldn't, I don't think that would be especially where that, we know where most of the snow's gonna end up. That would be an easy, it would slow it down even more.
Right, and the two locations you just pointed out are the two that are close to the two wetland systems. I don't have a concern about the front
Right. And that would be the place, this is wet here, and there is wet there, so we could put a little swale, we could add swales to that without, actually, it'd probably be slower than it is now.
That'd be great.
So,
Yeah. Anyone else, questions, concerns?
Well, so since Brian did his calculations based on the fact that there was no indication of, pavement, do you need to recalculate or what, as far as,
Well, that's why I asked Kevin the question,
yeah, right.
and I was hoping to have the answer.
what's that?
As far as like, to do the recalculation to find out about, like Brian indicated that there was well below the maximum 75% for impervious surfaces. You said you wouldn't be increasing it, but yet, you will be by paving,
Well, yeah, that area now is all gravel.
yeah, and you said it was so compact that it was essentially pavement. But,
Right, right.
I don't think Brian, utilized that observation in his,
No, it wasn't indicated in the application, so, and there is a call for no greater than 75%
Right, well, I
coverage
know
on
we're
the
not
lot.
over 70, but we can I'll calculate that
Okay.
as well. I know we're not close to that for the lot.
Okay.
Anything else? All right. It's 7:01. I'm going to open it up for public. What?
you sure it's 7?
I'm trying to be exact here. Is there are there any public comments, either for or against, or questions from our audience?
Miller again. I think this is a great repurposing of an existing commercial property, and I believe it meets all our requirements for multiple uses on one lot, and meets the intent and purpose of our environmental mitigating technologies, and I would recommend approval.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I'm closing the public comment portion of our meeting tonight at 7:03. After hearing those public comments, anything else? So would it be prudent to vote on this with a couple of stipulations, those swales, and provided after calculation that the impervious area doesn't exceed 75%? Would anyone like-
Just eyeballing it, I would agree.
Yeah. I don't think it's an issue. I think it's just,
To just make that, those
Prudence.
two conditions of approval.
yeah. Would anyone like to make that motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Did you get that motion, Brian, or do we need to restate it?
It went by so fast. So that was Jack and Bonnie, right?
Yeah, I second.
And as moved. Just for clarity, the conditions would be that we need to have the information on the impervious surface coverage percentage, and that spreader ditches or something similar be located at the snow storage areas.
Right, yeah, I think as was shown on the plan here, just south of the smaller new building and just west of the two driveways inside of the large building.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So with those,
Thank you.
so next on the agenda,
Bring in the new one.
The new one shows the pavement.
On the new plan, I'll put the impervious layer.
Oh, that'd be great.
So, but I didn't know if you wanted to keep any of these.
Okay, there's no Mylar for this, is
No,
there?
you don't
Okay.
need one. But I did, you know, I don't want to mix them up, but I don't want to.
No, actually, I think
added another building. when I brought
if
it
that's
in.
what we approve, that's
Yeah.
what needs to be on the plan.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
you're welcome. So unfinished and other business. And this sounds like your show, Brian, a reminder of upcoming planning and zoning conference.
Yeah, I got an email today, well in advance of the deadline, that they're sold out. So if anybody had signed up for it, it's not happening. I was going to wait until I heard from all the parties before I submitted it. Unfortunately, they do have a waiting list if you're interested, but if it closed out that quick, I have to believe that that waiting list is, you know, really long. So, kind of an unfortunate turn of events with that.
Brian, was it at a different location, or is it still the same location? I was surprised it sold out so fast. That's
I think it's the same place.
Okay. So yeah, I don't blame you for having waited, because it's just very strange that it sold out.
Yeah.
This far ahead.
Unless they cut down on the numbers or some of this. I noticed they had more concurrent sessions, so maybe that limits the amount of seating they could have.
Maybe.
And then the question of the, is that it for that one? For the conference?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes it is.
And a question of interpretation of the
Okay,
zoning law?
I got a request from the folks at Hannaford who want to do a call-in. You pull up and pull into a parking space. You dial the number on the space, tell them you're there, they bring your groceries out to you, and you drive away. That is also included in drive-through service. And I think that at some point, it should be taken out of there because it's a completely different application, whereas you have in drive-through, and it's permitted in the zone, so this is more of a theoretical question. As you drive through, you have a line of cars that are queued, whereas this, it's just a regular parking space where people would pull in and pull out, probably at a greater rate than they normally would while shopping, but it's still a parking space. But the definition says a service that by design, physical facilities, or packaging procedures encourages or permits customers to receive services or obtain goods while remaining in their motor vehicles. So it's verbiage. It doesn't cross any other lines. There's nothing in our zoning that specifies types of parking other than the assumption that at least some of the public parking would be dedicated to ADA spaces. So none of those have changed. They would just take a section out of the, and I can pass the drawing around for you. Probably adjacent to the front door, and so marked, but at the same time, they're going to be upgrading the handicap spots to accommodate vans and actually have a designated accessible path from those parking spaces in addition to the existing crosswalks that nobody pays attention to that they have there now. So it's just essentially a rearrangement of the stuff in the front that is compliant with the ADA and with our zoning, basically. So I guess what I'm saying is, you know, you won't be seeing more about this unless you have some really serious questions. But I think that perhaps if this is going to be a coming thing, and it seems to be the wave, then maybe we should make it a lot clearer in our ordinance, the difference between drive-through and drive-up, I guess. You know, because who knows, Sonic would come in, for example, and that's not a drive-through service, but it is a drive-up service. You don't go into the building, they come to you. And it's kind of like we're going backwards in time.
Yeah, I know, with the roller skates, right?
Right. But it certainly makes sense in a lot of ways, and especially with busy stuff. But I don't think that you would see even a noticeable increase in traffic there because there's plenty anyway, and I can't say what days are more heavily trafficked than others. I go at random days, and none of them are the same. So it's just something to be aware of in that.
So you're gonna be able to call up your order and just drive down and
That's
they'll
what they're hoping
bring
to
it out?
do, yeah.
Did you say Sonic is coming?
No, sorry, I shouldn't say that in this venue, but that's an example only.
So you're
But
just
maybe they'll
putting,
hear it.
you're just putting this on our radar.
Yeah,
So,
basically,
yeah,
that,
so,
try to keep you abreast of
okay.
things that don't quite rise up to the planning board level, but could, could get there, in a year or two, maybe, if we started to see a proliferation of these types of uses.
And the advantage of separating this from a drive-through would be less,
Well, it's mostly about traffic, to me. You would have to, if you had to drive through, and you look at the McDonald's, for example, which had a tremendous increase in queued traffic when they moved from Route 3 down to Tenny Mountain Highway. Part of that is their business model, where they take two orders and then queue you together. So, but if there's that kind of traffic out there, then, I think we need to offer the distinction, because if it comes to the planning board, you're going to have to consider that effect on the traffic around there. Whereas the other is it generates more trips, but it's probably less traffic because they're parking in a designated spot. Nobody else will be there, and, I'm not even sure how it works. Like, they might say, if you're coming in an hour or something, maybe they would, that's their business model that they didn't get into with me. But typically, it's, like I said, you might see more ins and outs, but they won't be lingering like they would in a queued formation. And the other thing, too, is that those vehicles will probably be a sign saying to turn your motor off while you're waiting, whereas in a queue, very few people do.
I think that would be nice, actually, if you would talk with them, because I think your analysis of the two different situations was really helpful, and I think bringing it here was really helpful, and I don't see an issue with it, and it may be the same number of trips, but they'll just be at Hannaford shorter, because
Right.
the stuff's already been packaged up.
Right.
But yeah, if we could encourage them to think about that,
Yeah,
that'd be great.
A matter of signage, and since they seem to be re-signing the entire area because of the changes in the ADA stuff, plus the curb painting, and they will have a placard at every parking space, with the phone number and what your order or your space number is. It just, I think they've been more than happy to add that to the signage.
Did they mention electric charging stations at all? There was some talk of them installing charging stations at one point.
I hadn't heard anything more from them. The last charging station that was brought before this board was the Spear parking lot up on Langdon Street.
They're gonna have them there.
Yep.
What did I just,
And Alex has been talking about it too, but never gotten, to a point where he's ready to proceed. And that's it from my side, Mr. Chair.
what did I just hear about legislation about plastic bags? Is that going forward? Because obviously they would package it in their own bags, not yours.
Well, good point.
Another good question to ask them.
Or maybe there'll be some kind of, it'll be like cloth bags, you show up and return your old ones in.
Yeah.
It could be.
That's a great idea. If we ask for that,
Great.
something other than plastic would be nice.
Yes. There's a number of plastic bills before the legislature, aren't there?
Any other unfinished business or other business from the board?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to take an opportunity. This is my last meeting. Been an honor, privilege to serve with you all.
Thank you.
It's been an honor serving with you too, Jack. Thanks.
Yeah, it's been very educational, actually. Things I didn't know.
I'm on call.
Like a fireman, right?
Yeah.
We need to create a subalternate position.
Yeah, right, right.
Special phone, just a jacket.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
And on behalf of the town, Jack, thank you very much for your service for us.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
You're welcome.
And the board as well.
What we're gonna do without you, really?
Oh, you'll take care.
Isn't a rule you have to provide a replacement? Did you serve
Yeah,
up a new
someone just as
volunteer?
good.
Yeah, I figure 7 years is not,
Oh, it is. You're right.
Lucky 7. You got
Oh,
the
yeah,
7-year
that's
itch,
it.
Jack?
Yeah.
I'm still on zoning
Yes.
Oh, that's right,
That's
you
enough.
are.
and
Absolutely.
still on trustee of the trust fund. So I'm
You're still
not
busy.
gonna be a stranger to town hall.
Good. Damn.
Oh, thanks, Jack.
You're welcome.
Are there any
Pleasure.
public comments unrelated to the business of this evening?
I do have one thing I'd like to say.
Yes.
Frank, you're gonna have a partner back there in the back.
The highest compliment.
I'm sure he's gonna like the company.
Anything, nothing from the public. Anyone want to make a motion?
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
All right.
This meeting is over at